touch.
People always talk about my come up, cause I've been going all every summer. Pussy wanna talk about numbers, but your manager buying swipe show, so by me ain't nobody out now that can touch us.
What's good, YouTube? It's JT, and I'm doing a deck profile on my first place OTS Championship Floowandereeze deck. I've previously been on this channel at the end of July or beginning of August to do a deck profile for my first place Floowandereeze deck at the Remote Duel Extravaganza Regional Flight, which earned me my invite. The build is about the same as last time, except there's a 2-card difference, which we will go over in just a bit when we get there. Nothing has really changed except for a 2-card difference. I still played 40 cards, just as I did in my last list. And let's kick it off with the monsters. First off, I have 3 copies of Floowandereeze Rabina, your best normal summon. When it's normal summon, you get to add a level 4 or lower winged beast type monster from your deck to your hand. If it would be removed from the field, you banish it face up. And also, if a winged beast monster is normal summoned to the field while it is banished, you can return it from the banished pile to your hand. All Floowandereeze monsters have those 2 same effects, with the unique effect being different. So, Floowandereeze and Eaglin, 3 copies. Its unique effect is when it's normal summon, you can add a level 7 or higher winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. Next up is 1 copy of Floowandereeze in Token. Its unique effect is when it's normal summon, you can target 1 banished Floowandereeze card and return it to your hand. And 1 copy of Floowandereeze in Street. Its unique effect is when it's normal summon, you can target 1 card in either player's graveyard and banish it. We play 4 tribute summon monsters, 2 Floowandereeze in Empen, 1 Mist Valley Apex Avian, it's Omni Negate, and 1 Rise of the Megamark. This card, I see a few Floowandereeze players cutting. I don't really agree with that. It's our best source of disruption. It's one of our best cards in the deck that aren't related to the archetype. It can reuse stuff like a D-Shifter and Harpy's Featherstorm by putting it on the top of your deck. Most of the time you'll do that during your opponent's turn when you disrupt their plays. So you'll summon Mega Rise off a tribute summon, using like Dreaming Town or Map, and then you'll return a monster your opponent controls, or a card your opponent controls to the top of their deck, return a Dimension Shifter or a Harpy's Featherstorm in your graveyard to the top of your deck, and then return this Mega Raise to your hand, assuming of course that you tributed a Winged Beast type monster to summon it. And then you'll have the Harpy's Featherstorm or Dimension Shifter on the top of your deck to draw during your turn. Next up, we play 2 sets of hand traps, same ratios as before. 3 copies of Ash Blossom, Joy of Spring. It's not a high impact card on its own, but it does stop stuff like Big Welcome Labyrinth, Triple Tactics Thrust, Branded Fusion, stuff like that. I play 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. This handles a lot of decks that are reliant on the graveyard, such as Tear Element, Phantom Knights, that sort of thing. It also preemptively deals with Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is one of the worst cards to have resolved against you. Most of the time you'll instant lose if someone drops a Droll on you. That's it for monsters. Next up, we got the spells. 3 copies of Pot of Duality, 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. I don't play Extravagance. I don't really like Extravagance in this deck because it's reliant on immediately playing at the start of your main phase 1. Whereas if you have a Pot of Duality, you can just excavate into a Pot of Prosperity and then use the Pot of Prosperity to further sculpt your hand. I also like Pot of Prosperity because you can actually dig 6 cards into your deck to get something to fix your hand. Whereas with Pot of Extravagance, you're only getting the top 2 cards. Yes, Pot of Extravagance is a +1. You do get an additional card off of it, but you don't get the option of what you get into your hand. You are reliant on the top 2 cards in your deck because you're going to be drawing them, of course. Next up, 3 copies of Floowandereeze in the Magnificent Map, 3 copies of Floowandereeze in the Advent of Adventure, and 1 copy of Floowandereeze and the Unexplored Winds. Map grants you the additional normal summon while also banishing a bird from your deck, while Floowandereeze level 1 from your deck so you can get it back to your hand and you can chain block, so I can like reveal Eaglin, banish Rabina, normal summon Eaglin off this effect, chain link 1, chain link 2 over Rabina, and they cannot ash the Eaglin. Advent of Adventure is one of your pseudo search cards, also lets you dodge stuff like Effect Veiler, Infinite Impermanence, basically any target negation or any cards that target in general. Also gives you 500 life points on resolution. Decent time card. Unexplored Winds basically is a continuous spell version of the Monarch Stormforth. Only difference is the attributing effect does not activate. What's interesting is this allows you to send spells or traps from your opponent's side of the field to the graveyard to do that. Whereas Monarch Stormforth, I believe, only lets you do monsters. I play 1 copy because you don't really want to open it. It also has a draw effect, but you don't really want to use it as your opener. If you're opening with the draw effect, your hand is probably really bad. Now the change from the main deck. Back then, the main deck had 2 copies evenly matched. We have since replaced it with 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. This deck is a hand trap magnet. So if your opponent like Ashes or Duels you, can use Thrust to set like a Dreaming Town or even a Heartbeat Featherstorm inside the field. Hopefully if you set the Featherstorm, you have a Wind Beast monster already on board, or a way to get it on board during your opponent's turn. If your opponent has a monster on their side of the field and use it, you can actually add the card to your hand instead, but of course if Duels is active during that point, you can't add it to your hand. 2 copies of Dark Ruler No More. It's more filler than anything else, but it's nice to have blanket negation for stuff like SP Little Knight, Warlord Savage Dragon, Baron de Fleur, stuff of that nature. One downside is that it won't really get much mileage against Mannadium, because typically Mannadium will set their counter trap card and it'll just negate Dark Ruler No More. So you probably need to open both copies of these with Mannadium. And the last 2 spells are 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Heartbeat Feather Duster. This acts as a 4th Magnificent Map. This we just like to stack back row. Nothing really more to say. And the final 3 cards. 2 copies of Heartbeat Featherstorm, 1 copy of Floowandereeze and the Dreaming Town. I see players playing 1 copy of Featherstorm. They search out Thrust. Like I said a little while ago, I geared my build towards primarily going first, with added help from Dark Rules No More in case forced goes second. Heartbeat Featherstorm is your win con against decks like Branded, Mannadium, Tier Elements, stuff like that. I like doubling up on the Featherstorm. I would play a 3rd copy if I had the room for it, but I don't want to go over 40 cards, and the only card I could feasibly cut from the main deck for it would be Heartbeat Feather Duster, and I just like to stack back row decks with Feather Duster, because massive back row decks are a big weakness to Floowandereeze. Dreaming Town is Dreaming Town. It's your ultimate offering of the deck with the added effect of banishing from the graveyard to book all the opponent's monsters. The one downside to this card is that it conflicts with D-Shifter, because if you have D-Shifter active, you're not going to get the graveyard effect of Dream Town because it will not hit the graveyard. That's been a common problem for me before, but Dreaming Town is still too good not to play, same with D-Shifter, so I do have to deal with them conflicting with each other once in a while. We'll move on to the extra decks because it's not really that important, but we'll get it out of the way anyways. 1 copy Access Code Talker, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Wind the Wind Channeler Verdant, in case your opponent has a Baron de Fleur to grab from their graveyard. Tri-Brigade Fairjet the Baron Blossom, 1 Link Rebo, and 1 Relinquish Anima. We do play some Exceeds. We play the Typhon, we play Zeus, with a Downer Magician, Drytron Beta, Moo Beta Fafnir, and Lyrilisk Assembled Nightingale. This is in case you somehow get Droll and Lockbird plus a level 1 Floowandereeze on board while TC Boo is active. You just overlay it to Drytron Beta Fafnir, swing, Downer, then Zeus, then just board white. Typhon is Typhon because if the opponent like summons 2 extra deck monsters on their turn and it switches to your turn, you don't really have a good way of dealing with them. You just go on Typhon and hope for the best. Lyrilisk is Lyrilisk, attack directly, going to Downer, then Zeus. And last but not least, 3 fusions, 1 Garura, Skull Wagon, and Skull Knight. Just in case the opponent wants to use a card that forces you to send cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, this will draw you a card. And these 2 will pop. This will pop a spell or trap, this will pop a monster. Unlike Entis though, you don't use them immediately. They're not quick effects and they're not trigger effects. You just basically initially affect them during your turn, you banish, you pop something. And last but not least, the side deck. Side deck has changed quite a bit since last time. 1 copy of DD Crow, searchable via Robina. You can even search it on your opponent's turn when you have like Dreaming Town or when map triggers. 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, deals with the Mirror Match, deals with Mannadium, deals with any other heavy search deck. 1 copy of Herald of the Abyss. We side that because we play 2 thrusts in the main deck. So if we open like Thrust against Pirelli, and they activate their Nor during their standby phase or whatever, Thrust is live, it will add it to the hand, and you can use Herald of the Abyss to clear off the Towers monster. Floowandereeze has a big problem with Towers-esque monsters, so Herald of the Abyss is one way to deal with it. Next up, we play 2 copies of Book of Eclipse and 2 copies of Book of Moon. These are for added insurance against Pirelli. You just use it during your turn when your opponent tries to go per elite to upgrade their on-field XYZ to Nor. This also deals with Centurion with the Crimson Dragon lock. They're going to use their effect of Crimson Dragon, target one of their synchros, use Book of Moon to target the synchro that they target, or you just use Book of Eclipse in general. Flips the monster face down, and on resolution, there is no monster for the level to be checked, and therefore they do not get to summon their Calamity off of the Crimson Dragon. It's also helpful in letting your birds dodge like Imperm, Veiler, etc. Next up, 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. It hits Runic Fountain, hits like Floodgates on activations such as TC Boo, Goes to the Match, Skill Drain, that sort of thing. 1 copy of Dimensional Barrier. This is just another thrust target, really. You side in like D Barrier going first, and your opponent like drills you or something. You can thrust into D Barrier, activate it, and then call whatever extra deck type is predominant, except for Links, because we can't call Link monsters with D Barrier. And last but not least, 3 copies of Evenly Matched, of course. Incredible board wipe. So let's go over my matchups. Round 1, I faced Horus Centurion. I lost either 2-0 or 2-1. I don't remember exactly. Apparently my notes say it was 2-1, so there you go. Round 2, I beat Tier Elements 2-0 because I de-shifted him. I want to say on game 2. Round 3, I beat Labyrinth 2-0. Round 4, I beat Vanadium 2-1. The top 4, I beat Tier Element, same guy as round 2. And in the finals, I beat Horus Centurion 2-1, same guy as round 1. So I basically started out 0-1. I finished first place after top 4. And I got this sick invite plus sick play mat. But overall, I am proud of how this deck performed last weekend at the OTS Championship. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments. And a big thank you to Screw the Rules YuGiOh for letting me have my deck profile yet again on his channel. And hopefully next time I'll have a different deck to feature, because I know a lot of people do not like Floowandereeze. It's my favorite modern archetype, so it's kind of like, what can you do? But I know a lot of people are getting sick of Floowandereeze. Deck's been viable for about 2 years now. And people just don't like the deck, how much recursion it gets, how annoying it gets, and how dependent on blowout cards it is. But once again, thank you all for watching my deck profile, and I will catch you guys all in the comments if you have any questions or comments about the deck profile. Thank you for watching.
Search.
People always talk about my come up.